Hello, I'm FDX and welcome back to Seeds Sunday. This is a weekly series I run on my channel where I show you seeds Minecraft console edition usually that are particularly interesting and worth checking out in some way. But today I have something special because I'm not just showing you one seed for Minecraft console, I'm showing you two separate Minecraft seeds, except they're really the same seed, question mark? Well, you can probably work out exactly why that's going on because of the title, but today I wanted to compare something that I found very interesting and was fascinated by the idea of, which is there any link between a console edition seed and a pocket edition seed? In theory there could be because they're both based off the same PC system, but just by typing in the same seed and just by looking at the spawn, you can see like there's a big fragmentation, and theoretically there's not meant to be too much of a link, but let's see in today's video if there's any link between a console seed and a PE seed by comparing the exact same world on the exact same editions by the brand new Xbox version versus the old one, but just seeing exactly what the changes are. So that's what we're doing in today's video. Hopefully you all do enjoy it. You can like the video if you do because it helps out the channel a lot, and let's know you do like this sort of experiment. Again, I love to check out and find out this sort of thing that's never really been tested before. Most people aren't testing Minecraft console seeds versus Minecraft PE, but that's what we're doing in today's video. So just to keep things fair, I used the largest world size available for Minecraft on the Xbox One, Xbox One Edition I should say, which was the large world size, 5,000 by 5,000, whereas on the Pocket Edition, or the Windows 10 with the controller version, we actually have the largest world size available here, which is infinite. So this goes technically up to like 13 million blocks, but the usable part of the world where it's not jittering and lagging and stuff like that is about 5 million by 5 million. This means the world size is not only not only 1,000 times bigger here, it's actually 1,000 times bigger in both directions, so it's a million times bigger of a world. However, although that's not the biggest thing for a lot of people, that is still a big deal, and it might affect the way these seeds are generating, but it's still the closest thing we can get to a fair comparison. Let's get straight into comparing these seeds directly then, shall we? So, looking at the spawn, which is something I've done already, again, you can see my map is pretty much explored here. If we look at this, both the spawns side by side, you can kind of see this thing where, like, oh yeah, on the right side, the Pocket Edition, we've got ourselves, like some ocean on the left and then some land on the right, which just about matches what we see here. Some ocean on the left and then some land on the right, including some forest. But you can see as soon as you get beyond that, like, simple comparison there, everything else is kind of distorted a little bit. You can see there's a swamp to the north and then there's a lot of forest to the east, whereas on the console version, or the console edition, again, it's old versus new, but it's only for two platforms new. But with the console edition, you can see there's a woodland mansion to the north, which is pretty crazy, some roof forest to the north, and then to the east it's a lot of plains and mountains. So the same rough geography is applying here, which could just be coincidence, but it looks like there's maybe something more than that. But the only way to test this for sure is to keep on going in the same direction and see if these coincidences keep happening or if they fade out slowly over time. So we're just going to sprint forwards on the new console version, the Windows 10 version here, and then we're going to fly forwards on the console version, and we're going to see if things line up even a little bit, because again, if we see some biomes which keep happening on both, then we'll get something interesting there. So we'll do some like slightly fancy editing so you can see like left to right how these things are actually comparing. I think the interesting fact that you might notice is that we've just passed a swamp on the Pocket Edition here, and then there just happens to be a swamp on the console. Again, this could be pure coincidence, the fact that there's a swamp, because they're different sizes, they've got like not much of the same geography, but you've got to bear in mind that they have the exact same biomes, and the odds of any two biomes colliding aren't amazingly great, especially after the stuff we've seen already. And then also, as well as that, you got to keep in mind that it's not only that we just saw that off the other thing, it's the fact that there's some desert to the left of it, and again, we see some desert to the left as well, or at least some beach and some desert, followed by the way, just after those deserts, you can see, so we'll go this direction now, you can see there's some savanna in the distance, and if we look on the console, it doesn't look like it's much of a savanna, but you can see there is some savanna here, and there's quite a bit of it. So again, the fact that all of this lines up in this exact same way is a little bit suspicious, but the distances between it are not lining up in the slightest. The distance I'm actually flying here, you can kind of see it, is pretty immense to get from one side to the other, whereas on the console, it was kind of just like, oh yeah, they're right next to each other. So this could mean that they've got similarly sized seeds, but with just different scales, or it could just mean, again, pure coincidence, you see three things in a row. It doesn't necessarily mean something, it just kind of points at it. And again, we can see more of that as we go later, but for now, just bear in mind, after the savanna on the console, we've got a big mesa biome found just over there too, which is a pretty big deal, whereas on the Pocket Edition, no matter how, the Windows 10 with whatever, the new console version, you can see there is some desert there instead, and it doesn't look like there's any mesa, even if we go a pretty decent distance. So that kind of like shoots down the theory that it's perfectly correlated, and it could just be, oh yeah, well, the same seed happens to mean desert at these locations. It's hard to be certain, but let's go north of the savanna now, and let's see if anything else continues to be the same from there. So we're going to go exactly north, as we're doing right here, and we're going to go exactly north on the console, and we'll see if anything else, correlates in the exact same way. And again, although we're seeing some of the same biomes, we're seeing a lot of the stuff that isn't exactly the same. Again, it could mean that like the scale is so different that things are just happening in different orders, but you can see how, like, again, we've got this savanna followed by the desert kind of thing here, and here you can see there's a big desert with a savanna next to it in a very similar kind of clash. And again, it could just be that, well, these biomes are next to each other all the time, or it could mean something more, but it's seeming less and less likely that it really does mean something more, because as we go further and further to the north, we're still in the savanna biome on the POC edition, whereas on the console we've gone from that to like some plains, to now some roof forests, and now into a birch forest. And where are we on the you know, the POC edition / bedrock version? Well, we're still on the savanna, just about to head into some plains. And, you know, after the plains, it doesn't go into the roof forest and everything else. It just goes straight into what looks like it is a birch forest at the very least. So yeah, the interesting thing about seeing these two things side by side is that you can really see how different the generation really is. Although this is the smallest biome generation on a console, this is obviously after they've changed it. This was the default biome size, I should say, before they changed it, whereas on the POC edition, this is just how things always are. There is no biome scale. This is the size of a biome you might have to deal with, and I think that's the interesting kind of result we're getting here. I think we're seeing that there's some potential coincidences, maybe even like some very, you know, distinct causation, because again, they're both based on the PC, but we're not seeing anything which tells us like, oh yeah, if you love a console seed and you really want to see a particular thing and how it generates on the POC edition, there's nothing that tells us you'll be able to see that exactly like there. So yeah, once we've headed through this giant desert, bear in mind this desert is pretty much the size of the render distance on the console. Once we head beyond that, we go into a plains biome, which is looking kind of nice, I guess, and then after that it's just right back into another desert, followed by a savanna village, again, one we didn't see on the console, despite the fact that villages are more likely to generate on the console. So again, just a fascinating little tidbit there that kind of just shows that yes, things are distinctly different. However, again, I think now is the good time to switch to like, what is the actual difference we can learn from this? I think it's not that there's, again, any one-to-one correlation between, oh yeah, POC edition, console. It doesn't look like there's any of that. They're based on the PC, so they can have the same biome relations, they can have some stuff that maybe happens the same, but it's not happening by, you know, like actually, you know, this isn't happening because the things are exactly the same, even though a lot of things, again, they look spookily like they're lining up. Like, oh, guess what? We've got a village on the curve of a river bend, and we've got a village at the curve of a river bend here, but they're different types of villages. This one has a ravine next to it. This one has, like, slightly different biome on the other side. There's some tiny things that you can see lining up, but this isn't really the fact at all, and instead this means the thing you can take away from this is the fact that the POC edition, the bedrock version, the brand new console version, again, it's got a billion names, but the brand new console version is going to have much bigger biomes, and this is something you're going to have to deal with, it seems like. Unless you want to use the old world size, which is very, very, very small. I'll make a whole video on that sometime. Unless you want to use the old world size, the biomes you're going to have to be running across are much bigger, and this is kind of a good thing, because these are bigger than even large scale biomes. We now have like extra large biome scale, and it's turned on all the time, which is something that might cause problems, but it means your Minecraft experience is going to be changing, whether the better or whether the worse. You can kind of argue, and a part of me says like, well, that's awful. You don't want to just walk through a desert for this long. Look at the size of this desert. I've got my render distance set to so you know, wide, but we're still seeing all the way over there. But you might argue like that's not particularly a good thing, but you know, it's going to be a thing regardless, and Minecraft is going to be changing in a big way, and one of the ways that you might not have even thought about is that the seeds are going to look like this instead of like this. Again, look at these biomes. This is what you're used to. That's a pretty big savanna biome, right? Well, compare it to this savanna biome, and that's really the kind of endpoint of today's video. Things are changing, arguably for the better, arguably for the worse, but they're definitely changing in big ways, and in unavoidably big ways, that's going to be exciting to really kind of see. So yeah, as you can see, just look at the ridiculous scale of this thing. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. You can like it if you did like it, because it helps out the channel, and let us know you do like the comparison of Minecraft POC edition seeds to Minecraft console seeds. You can share them if you really liked it, and you can subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one every single day on my channel, and if you subscribe, you'll see them daily on your homepage. The goal here is to be the #1 source for all of these, you know, the brand new version versus the old one, so you can know exactly what you're doing if you're a console version player. Again, that's harder and harder to find because most people are just like, well, I guess I'm just a full-on POC edition YouTuber now. But my thing is like, I want to provide for both the old and the new console version, and this video is kind of a good way to show you that. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from seeing just how different these worlds are, because this is after I set the gamma size down, by the way. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed and learned something from this video, but I'll see you all next time. Have a nice day.